This is Past But Not Gone podcast. 30 years of Proem Ministries. Past But Not Gone. Proem, 30 years. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. My name is Rafał Piekarski and I'm really glad to have special guests with me today. Maria and Szymon Karkowski and Ewa and Tomek Poliński. And those of you who know our ministry a little bit, you probably guessed well, we will be talking about a beautiful city of Łódź and our ministry there that today, it's a normal part of our ministry. About 10 years ago, it was just another city that we knew of and not even lived there, right? None of you have ever lived in Łódź before. Have you ever thought about living in Łódź?
Before 2011, I have never been in Łódź even.
Oh, really? You see. So 2011 is for you a moment when you moved to Łódź, and this was really for us all a beginning of our regular activities in Łódź. Remember 2011? What was it like and what happened?
First time I went to Łódź for the first festival of volunteer festival, Contact Łódź, 2011.
International Volunteer Festival, yes. Contact Łódź 2011.
Too
long, long name, but good name.
Good name, yes. So I was that time an intern with Proem, taking photos and working with media staff. And I went during the summer time. We went there to do the festival, and that was my first connection with the city and first time I've been there and first time I fallen in love with the city.
Well, it wasn't easy to fall in love with a city like Łódź. That was not 10 years ago. It was a different city than it is today, right?
It was completely different, and I was shocked when I saw the poverty and how, like, those places, the center was destroyed and
rundown buildings, closed factories.
Yes, it was shocked. I was shocked, but on the second hand, I fell in love with the people in the city and with the need. Like I saw the need of our presence of serving people there in the city, and that I catch the specific atmosphere of this.
Melsia, you lived in Tomaszów at that time, but Contact Festival was really came out of another very similar thing that we started in Tomaszów called Real Action, yes. And you served the city there. 2008.
Yes, 2008. The first Real Action in Tomaszów. And then Sandomierz, and then Łódź in 2010. It was my first time when I went to Łódź and had the opportunity to serve people. And the Real Action was an event. We helped people, local people, with renovating their apartments and doing something for the community. Yes.
And that's what Contact Festival really happened to be. We decided that this is going to be an event, a one-week event, when we will gather people from different parts of the world. We all around the world, because they were coming from really different parts of the world. And then we will be serving the community by, like you said, renovating people's apartments, mostly people in difficult life conditions, nursing homes, orphanages, then creating a special zone for kids and playing with kids. Basketball, that's one of your favorites.
Yeah.
And music was a part.
And music
was a big part of this from the beginning.
Music and art. We had churches that came behind us and really started sending their teams over. One of the churches, Southbrook Christian Church, that would, as far as the bands and stuff, they were first time ever, they were already behind it. They said, we were loving it, we want it to happen, we will send people every year. And so they did. They were really sending people every year. But then 2011 Contact Festival happens. Szymon, you just finished, graduated from...
Yes, that was a special time for me because I just graduated my university in Wrocław. I was living in Wrocław that time. And as I said, I was an intern with Proem. But since I finished my university, I was thinking and praying what's my next step, where God wants to move me. I had my own small business running, and I was thinking, should I continue it, or should I find a job? Or I couldn't find a place for me in Tomaszów or in Zakościele, so I thought there's no room for me at that time. But after this contact, after the summer with the first Contact Festival in Łódź, when I was praying, one day Rafał and director Mały Dwulat came up to me and they asked, what do you think? Maybe it's the right time to move to Łódź. What do you think?
And you've never been to Łódź before. Before Contact Festival, you've never been to Łódź, so it was a completely new experience. I think it's really important to say we didn't really know people in Łódź. Like, we knew some people who were part of our camps before, right? They were coming to our camps, were helping, or were part of the camp, but really didn't know people. It's fair to say, didn't know people in Łódź. We came to a brand new city for us, completely new, and we started gathering, but not for the church. And I think this is very important to say. We did not start with the church gatherings, with services. We'll talk about it in just a moment, but a few months later, Eva, Tomek, you guys came, remember, coming then?
Yes, we do. For us, it was a huge change because we moved out from Tomaszów 300 kilometers. So it was hard for us, but it was a huge change, but good change because my family is living in Tomaszów. So for our son, we knew that it will be great to...
Who was just born, let's just say this. Like 4-month-year-old boy, starting really new life, coming to Łódź and starting activities with us. Tomek is one of those people you need to understand. Probably those of you who have seen our podcast or heard our podcast, you know, we have some people on our staff that know English very well, but for some reason they refuse to speak English. So Tomek perfectly understands what we're talking about, right? Yes.
Right.
Yes, right. But he will be speaking Polish, so I will interpret for him. Tomek, pamiętasz ten moment, jak zaczęliście pracę w Tomaszowie i te w Łodzi i te związane z tym challenges? Remember the first time, the challenges that were connected with this?
No, pierwsze początki to było P109, nowe miejsce, które rozpoczęliśmy po wakacjach we wrześniu.
The beginning for us was a P109 place at Piotrkowska Street, or P Street, as we call it sometimes.
No, wcześniej tam było jakieś studio tańca, więc
There was like a dance studio there before.
Musieliśmy to miejsce wyremontować.
We had to renovate this place.
Jakby przystosować do naszych działań.
Adjust it to our activities.
Więc na początku było dużo takiej pracy remontowo-budowlanej.
So there was a lot of physical construction work. So coming to Łódź, I think it's also very, very unique about Łódź. You guys came, but really when you think about all different things that you've been doing along the way, it seems like you have been doing a lot of different, like you had different jobs. One time you were a construction company, then you were like a serving the community place, then became the church. We'll get to this. Then remember we were doing things like one day restaurant, because P109 was our way to find our way into community, connect with people. This was very important. We decided we're not going to start with a service because in Poland doesn't work like that. You don't just come up and you say, hey, we're opening a church. Would you like to come? That's not how people work. People are not looking for a church. And we came for just to start building relationships. And maybe it's important to say, Szymon, right, that we didn't really necessarily...
We didn't think we will open a church.
Yeah,
one day.
we hoped. We were hoping.
Yeah, but none of us from Łódź team was skilled or knew how to open a church, how to plant a church. We were there just to set up our presence, to build relationships, to serve people, to serve community, and be present in the city. And we were open what God will do, which door He will open, and yeah.
And we started with just different activities there in P109 where we were engaging the community. And I just said, construction company, because we had to build it, renovate it. But then, catering company when we did the one-day restaurant?
One day restaurant.
Few times even we were a restaurant.
What was the idea? Can you explain the idea of one-day restaurant?
People were coming to one day restaurant, so we could serve them with the food and get to know them. They could get to know us, and this is how we just invite people to our place for restaurant.
For restaurant, and this was one of the things we did, because we actually started with something called, I don't know, triple art or art times 3 or whatever, how to even call it in 3 sztuki in
That
English.
was our first event in
P109. What was it? Remember?
It was Adam Pańczak was serving food, Estera Pańczak was singing, and Krzysztof Kwiatkowski was showing his paintings.
And this is, I think it's important you're mentioning these names among other names that came along, because there were many people involved in the Łódź project from the very beginning. But what's important, from the very beginning also, the Zakościele, Tomaszów, for our ministry, Proem Ministries, this was important that it's not a separate project, but that we are all involved as much as we can, just like we were all involved when we were doing camps, just like we were all involved when we started our work and activities in Tomaszów. As much as possible, we were all involved at different stages of Łódź project, and that was, I think, it was a very important for our philosophy also of thinking, for the way we will think about the church there in the future and how we operate right now as a one church in 2 locations where there's one community and 2 campuses, but it's really one church. That's how we feel, one community of believers. So we have P109, and then we have an intern from Tomaszów come and join the team in Łódź. Marysia, you started your work with Proem not so much with Łódź, but a little bit earlier.
Yes, I started in Tomaszów, and I was intern with Proem since 2010. And when things in Łódź started to happen, I just wanted to join there and to still living in Tomaszów, just visiting Łódź and yes,
Visiting Łódź, really?
like being there in Łódź more often.
Aha. But who did you visit there? Just let me think.
Yes, and
Szymon.
yes,
Right. That's right,
yes.
Szymon. Okay.
I visited also Szymon, not just the things that were happening. Finally, I stayed there.
This is that's a great story actually. 2 interns, you just both starting at different places. Proem connecting people, guys. If you're looking for that kind of relationship or whatever, come and join us. Who knows what might happen? We have some successes in this area and also internationally. So, but that's not what the story is about. The story is about you, the 2 couples, really living in Łódź, working there, engaging the community. 2015, there's a big moment.
Big change. Yes.
Big change.
Before 2015, we already started our once a month service. We called it Bo Jesteś.
Like a gathering more, meeting people. It wasn't like formally a service, but had a worship in it?
Had a worship, had a sermon, teaching, and we had many people coming from Tomaszów supporting us and being there for this meeting once a month. And after that, we started also our a small group. We call it midweek on Wednesday, where we gather with people from Łódź that we already knew, that were already following Jesus, and we were talking about how to be a church, what it's like to be a church. We're reading Acts and trying to figure out how to be involved in the city and share the gospel in our city. And after that, in 2015, as you said, it was a big moment for us, because we moved from P109 because of the ceiling
Went down. But we are also looking for a bigger place. We really
Yeah.
wanted to expand with the activities. There are more people coming.
Yeah, and we found Solna, place at Solna Street, Salt Street, and we started renovating it. And we also we also started our weekly, every Sunday service in small theater in Manufaktura. So that was the
5 p.m.
5 p.m. after like all team that was doing service in Tomaszów, like the worship team, teaching pastor, and all those people were tech people. After the service in Tomaszów at 10 o'clock, they were packing the stuff and coming to small theater. To
About 30 miles, right? That needs to say. Going 30 miles to a completely new city.
3 hours of setting up everything, and at 5 o'clock p.m. we had a second service in Łódź, and then putting down.
Tear everything down, because we really we didn't, when we say we rented a small theater, that was the name of it. We really didn't rent a small theater. We rented a day. We had a 1 day only for this, and we were able to do services there. The children, remember kids? Eva, you were doing a lot of kids work. The Sunday school was meeting.
Like in the hall.
In the hallway. We had to.
It wasn't easy.
We had to mark it with roll-ups and everything, so that can close the space. That was a really good time. It was so many memories. So when I think about it, to this place, but served us well for like almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years.
Served us really well. And you also mentioned Solna 15. When we showed up at Solna 15, we renovated this place and turned it into something we didn't really know exactly what was supposed to be in the beginning, but we knew one thing: we would like to engage the street and people who lived nearby, and we saw a lot of difficult families or kids with vulnerable kids, underprivileged kids who lived there, and decided to open Świetlica.
Tak.
The after school program. Tak, yes, tak, Tomek.
Nawiązaliśmy pierwsze relacje z pobliską szkołą.
We started relationships with the school there.
I też z liceum ogólnokształcącym.
And with the high school that gave us volunteers.
Tak, oznajmiliśmy, że jesteśmy na Solnej i możemy rozpocząć takie pierwsze działania świetlicowe dla dzieci.
And then we would like to start our first activities for children.
I rozpoczęliśmy najpierw od 3 dni.
We started with 3 days.
Dzieci pojawiły się dość szybko, pani pedagog zadziałała, więc chyba od 6 dzieci zaczynaliśmy, a dzisiaj mamy 20-30 dzieci na świecie.
They have about 20-30 kids.
Tak, i te 3 dni zamieniły się w 4 dni, już w pełnych godzinach, w pełnym wymiarze. Dołączyli też do nas wolontariusze z pobliskiego liceum.
We had volunteers come from
starzyści, pracownicy fundacji.
Come from high school, and of course the interns, Proem interns, and our workers, our team. It's important to say that really at different stages of our activity, of our work in Łódź, really the whole team was involved at different capacity, but it's not like, and I think it's also a very remarkable part of our ministry. It's not like we work in silos. It's not like you work you do your own job and that's all you do, No, you are part of a bigger, larger picture, and you may be working, like today, you're helping with preschool, for example, but you're also doing the youth work, right? Szymon is teaching after school program, and the same works for all of you, all of us. Well, in 2015 we have officially become one church in two locations, and Szymon started teaching more and more. You're not a born preacher.
No.
It wasn't an easy thing to start with. Tell us about it.
I remember first those meetings, the Bo Jesteś meetings, once a month meeting, when I had to say some few words, like announcements. I was paralyzed. I couldn't breathe even. So for me, stage was completely new and strange. And I was afraid of speaking in front of people, but I went for the school, for the academy, like the
Homiletics Academy.
Homiletics Academy. And it helped me a lot with communicating, and after sometimes being on the stage, I finally started to teach, to preach.
Yeah, I remember those beginnings, and Szymon's a great preacher. I mean, if you know him, if you heard him speak, he's really a good teacher. But just coming to this place it wasn't something that you were trained for, right? And I think it's important to say also about the way we, as far as developing in the ministry. Like Marysia, you started working with us in the area of youth. Mm-hmm. But you're not trained, or sports, but you're not trained, professionally to do, right?
No, I'm not.
So, but you're doing great. I mean, this is something that we are developing as we go. I think for all of us, like, for example, the preschool today that we have, it was a dream. Maybe Eva, maybe Tomek are prepared to do this, but...
it was a process.
It was a process. You never came to Łódź to say, one day we're going to start preschool there, right? It developed as an idea. And I think it's also very, very, it's very unique about the ministry, the way we do. We never looked at Szymon and said, Szymon will be the lead pastor.
I won't move to Łódź. If you told me like that in 2011,
you wouldn't have moved.
I wouldn't move to Łódź. I thought I would be media guy, taking photos or working with some media stuff, video. But
mm-hmm. Well, to tell us about this educational part of what's happening in Łódź, because I think it's important also for listeners, viewers to know. Łódź Tommy Church or Łódź, our work, our Łódź involvement, Łódź project is not only about a church meeting on Sunday mornings, right? It is much more than that. We are involved in different areas of life, of people's life, and one of those areas, a big part of our ministry there, is ministering to kids. You mentioned the children in Świetlica, and it's still the after-school program, so that still continues. But we also were doing things for other after-school programs. Remember, like in Manufaktura?
Tak, w 2015 zaczęliśmy takie działania, zanim jeszcze mieliśmy Świetlicę.
Before we had our own after-school place.
Myśleliśmy o tym, jak zaangażować się w działalność edukacyjną w Łodzi.
How to get involved in working with children.
I pomyśleliśmy, że fajnie byłoby nawiązać kontakty ze świetlicami, które już są.
And we thought it would be great to build relationships with those after-school programs that were already there.
Więc postanowiliśmy przygotować taki szereg zajęć,
so we decided to come up with different activities.
I zaprosiliśmy świetlice środowiskowe z Łodzi.
And we invited other after-school programs.
Prawie wszystkie świetlice.
Almost all of them.
Do łódzkiej manufaktury.
To Manufaktura, which is the city mall, one of the largest, right, in Poland, I think, in this part of Europe, one of the largest mall that is built into an old factory, very cool. Very nice.
I wtedy, choć skromnymi siłami, udało nam się przeprowadzić wiele naprawdę ciekawych, fajnych zajęć dla dzieci ze wszystkich świetlic w Łodzi.
And we were able to work for the benefit of all after-school programs in the city of Łódź.
To były nasze początki w takiej dziedzinie edukacyjnej, a potem też mieliśmy okazję pomóc tym świetlicom od strony finansowej.
These were our beginnings in the area of education, and then we were able to help them financially.
Zostaliśmy poproszeni o zorganizowanie takiej zbiórki bożonarodzeniowej.
We were asked by Manufaktura to help with Christmas donations.
Więc my zorganizowaliśmy wszystko od strony takiej technicznej, od zaplecza, a pieniądze, które zebraliśmy, zostały rozdzielone.
We organized everything from as far as the whole logistics, and it was happening in Manufaktura. There was like a gingerbread house, right? There is a Santa Claus. You can take a picture. You can bake gingerbread cookies, and we did it all. And the money the people were paying for it went to the other after school.
Więc pomagaliśmy innym świetlicom, ale gdzieś z tyłu głowy myśleliśmy o własnej świetlicy.
But we were hoping that one day we're going to have our own.
I za rok ta własna świetlica stała się faktem.
And next year, this our new the after school program happened to be our place. You mentioned Manufaktura, and I think we mentioned this in regards to Contact. I'm not sure if we didn't. That every Contact festival that we've been doing, we didn't just do one in 2011. We are continuing Contact festivals for the next years, for the whole decade. Mm-hmm. Every time we finished in Manufaktura, big city mall, big square. Quite a big stage. the bands playing there and engaging the community. The mayor who endorsed the festival would come and would say thank you to different groups. That was very encouraging. But this whole idea of connecting with the city, with the mall, with the city mall, this was crazy. Because I don't know how many churches really partner with the city mall to do something for the people, but Manufaktura was very gracious to us.
They were very open since the beginning.
And you remember the beginning? The beginning was like this. We were before the first Contact Festival. We needed a place to close our gathering, our festival, with the concert and stuff. We were looking for a place like this. We hoped maybe for some open space in Piotrkowska Street, but it was difficult with all the regulations and stuff. And Mały said, why don't we go to Manufaktura and ask them? Maybe they will let us do something in their square. Yeah, okay. Yeah, All right, let's see. So how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to call them, Mały said. We're just going to call them. Okay, so you call them. so he called them, and the lady on the other side of the phone, let's just say that it wasn't in the beginning a very encouraging conversation, because she was like, okay, well, yeah, sure. I mean, we can think about it. Please send us an email. And Mały was like, you know what? I could send you an email, but I think if you could give us 15 minutes of your time, we can just tell you what we're doing. And I think it's much different when we meet in person than when we just send you an email, because it doesn't explain what we're trying to do. Well, but I don't have time. Well, we just 10 minutes away from Manufaktura. We can be there in 10, 15 minutes. Okay, come in 15 minutes, but I only have 10 minutes for you. Okay, great. We came, it was Daniel, John, myself, and Mały Wulat, and we went there. Nice place, the offices we're working in. The lady sits us down, and you can tell she's maybe not bored, but she's like, she wants to finish. Yeah. She's in a rush. And Mały starts talking about what we're doing and what we're planning to do in the international festival, working for the people, renovating people's apartments, and this is what we do. 10 minutes passed, 15 minutes passed, half an hour passed. She's sitting there. She grabbed a person. She's like, hey, come over. You need to hear that. And after, I think, 30, 40 minutes, we said, so do you think it would be possible? She said, yeah, we're doing it. But would you like for us to still send you some information? No, it's fine. We're doing it. And that's how it really started. And ever since, we were very gracious for the connection, with Manufaktura. That, I think, for Łódź is really important. A church or a ministry partnering with Manufaktura. It served us with the church. The small theater was also in Manufaktura. That's where we had our first church services. It all worked out well for us. So here we are, 2020. We just started another educational part of our ministry, the preschool.
2019.
We have few kids. We have more people asking.
Na początku 2019 w marcu rozpoczęliśmy nasze przedszkole.
In March 2019 we started our preschool.
Na Solnej były już spotkania dla dorosłych, były spotkania dla młodzieży, były dzieci na świetlicy, więc
for youth, for after school program for kids.
Dlaczego nie miałyby pojawić się te najmłodsze?
Why not to have the youngest kids?
I w marcu udało nam się zorganizować, najpierw przejść przez wszystkie formalności,
and in March
dokumenty.
In 2019 we met all the criteria, did all the paperwork.
I w marcu, na początku marca rozpoczęliśmy te działania i pojawiło się, na początku mieliśmy 10 dzieci.
And started the kids, and we had like 10 kids in the beginning.
Tylko tyle możemy mieć i tyle mieliśmy.
We can have only 10 kids.
I najpierw mieliśmy taką krótką ofertę, bo to było 5 godzin przedszkola.
It was a short offer, 5 hours of preschool.
No, nie jest to jakaś szczególna oferta dla rodziców.
In Łódź this is difficult because they need more hours.
Więc te dzieci odchodziły, pojawiały się nowe. I w tym roku, w 2020, postanowiliśmy tę ofertę poszerzyć.
We decided that it's going to be a larger offer.
I dzisiaj mamy już punkt przedszkolny, który działa od poniedziałku do piątku, 10 godzin.
Preschool that opens at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Więc mamy taką ofertę, jaka jest pożądana w Łodzi dla rodziców.
So 10 hours of activities for parents
who
will bring their kids, and we hope they're going to bring their kids.
Ja jestem dyrektorem przedszkola.
I am the director. Ewa is the
Marysia uczy języka angielskiego. Szymon pomaga nam wszystko organizować i czuwa nad całością, nad miejscem i nad planem i w przedszkolu pomagają nam też
and we have other people who are helping us,
nasi stażyści,
our interns and workers help us with their work. So here we are, 2020. The church is up and running. We're in a new place. In our first, we moved out of small theater last year, moved to Lipowa Street, and it's really our first place, our place where we don't have to set up, right?
Set up and
do you miss it? Do you miss it?
No. It feels like home. The Lipowa Street. It's as you said. It's our full place for us, for our church, where we can work during the week, for the small group, for youth group, for services, and it's really good.
Okay, so we have a church up and running. We have preschool. We have after-school program. We have activities for women, for men. Working as one church in 2 locations, so helping each other, connecting each other, working under one leadership, one budget, one big team that has 2 separate teams, but they work together. We help each other. I think it's a big part of who we are as a church, and it's worth keeping it like this. What are your dreams for the future? I mean, it seems like within the last 10 years, everything has changed for you, but you're in a completely different place. A decade has passed for you, Szymon, after being here in.
My dream is very, very great education center.
Oh, you see, this is what Tomek that he can say in English. Great education center, just like the one in Tomaszów.
Yes, like Tomaszów.
Mm-hmm. We like to see the education center there. Ewa.
I heard a sentence from one of the moms from the after-school program. She told me that Solna before us was a gray, sad place for them. And then we showed up there, and for them it's like a little light in this darkness, in the street. So I'm so happy that we have a safe place for our children in Łódź. Mm-hmm. And I think my dream is the same like a Tomek's dream, to have bigger place for our children, to create a safe place for our children.
Mm-hmm. Education center, starting with the preschool. One day, having there a regular school, who knows, right? Szymon, are you okay with this?
Not only at the South Street, but in different places in the city, we can show this light and shine brighter with God's word and with His help.
Because I think this is also important, just like you're saying, it's really, we've never been about education per se, we've never been about sports per se, we've never been about charity per se, but we did all of these things in order to glorify God and to show Him to the people around us, to share His message, the message of His love, who Christ is, with people around us. In whatever we do, we always try to emphasize that what we do in the name of Jesus. And the light that you're talking about, Eva, you're talking about small light at Solna Street, and not that we have to think in big terms, but why not to be a bigger light? Why not this light to be as big as possible, however big God wants us to be? In the city of Łódź is quite a large city, 750,000 people, almost 1 million people in Greater Łódź area. Not many evangelical churches, not many evangelical believers, 600-700 if you count like the evangelical groups, different groups. Who knows what God has in store for the city of Łódź? Marysia, any dream there?
To be a light for more and more people there.
Mm-hmm. And let it be so. This is what I wish you and all of our team in Łódź. Thank you very much for coming and joining us for the podcast. Thank you, our viewers and listeners. Thank you for sticking around with us and listening to this story. I think it's just fascinating. Fascinates me to always. I know this story, but every time we talk about it, it just energizes me to think about the next places. And who knows, today we have Łódź, we have Tomaszów. We're thinking about Piotrków as another place where we might have the same story repeating itself, but in a completely new setting, in a different way. So please pray for us. Please subscribe to our channel. Please share our podcast in social media. Thank you, all of you who are doing this already, who have done this already, and please do more of this. We'll be glad to hear from you. Please comment and let us know how you find this podcast. Thank you very much for your conversation. Thank you. Proem, 30 years, past but not gone podcast. See you next time.
This is Past But Not Gone podcast. 30 years of Proem Ministries.